Hello, my name's Alissa, and I'm the Science Program Manager at Boston Children's Museum. And I want to welcome you back to my house. I'm in a different part of my house today, but that's okay. And I want to show you another activity that I really like that's really simple. It involves science and art together, and it's a lot of fun. The materials are things, again, that you probably have in your house. We really don't like to make you go out and buy crazy stuff, so we try to do the kinds of things that with things you probably have in your home already. So I'm going to go down the list of supplies that you need, and then I'm going to show you how to do this activity. We call it Wiggly Water. So one thing that you'll need, unsurprisingly, is some water. You'll need wax paper. A big tray or something that, ideally something that has edges like this, because so the water doesn't run all over the place. So a big cookie sheet like this is great, but if you don't have one, I mean, a plate will do just fine, or frankly, you could just do it right on your tabletop. A piece of paper or something else white. I happen to have this foam core in my house. I have no idea where it came from, but I found it in this room, so I'm going to use that. You're going to need some medicine droppers, but if you don't have them, don't worry about it. You can use straws. You can even use a spoon, so that's fine. You're going to need a straw for another part of this activity. I generally use a stainless steel reusable straw like this one in my home, so that's what I'm going to be using today. But your regular plastic straw, everyday plastic straw, will work just fine. Okay, other things that you need. You will need some food coloring. And once again, I like to use the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. And then the last thing you'll need are some jars or little bowls or any kind of small container. Baby food jars work really well for this kind of thing. I don't have any. I just have these different jars that are different sizes. It doesn't matter. And those are the things that you're going to need. So the first thing you're going to do is pour a little bit of water into each of your jars. You can see there's not a lot in there. You don't need too much at all. And then a few drops of food coloring into each jar. So you're making separate colors. You want your colors to be pretty bold. Sometimes with food coloring, you can let it be kind of a little bit pale. But for this one, you want your colors to be pretty bold. So you can see that the blue there is pretty dark, and the red there, and the yellow too, are all pretty bold. So that's your initial setup, and now I'm going to show you how to do the activity. I think you'll really like it. Okay, here we go. So I've got my piece of white foam core here, and again, you could just use plain white paper in some kind of tray, and I've torn off a piece of wax paper. Just going to kind of fold it in here. There we go. Now I'm going to use my medicine droppers to put 4 drops of each color on the wax paper. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to do 5. There we go. Let's do some blue. And you notice that I'm putting some space between them. I don't want them to be too close to each other. I'm also not making them too big. And again, if you don't have a medicine dropper, you can do this using a straw. If you know the trick about how you stick a straw into a glass of something and then you block the end with your finger, and that'll put some liquid into the straw, and then you can let it out. Or you can just use a spoon. It doesn't really matter. Okay, And now what you're going to do is you're going to take another straw, put it in your mouth, and just very gently blow on these dots, and we'll see what happens. Oh, look, I made orange. This is why I like to use just the primary colors again. Oop, there's some purple. If you start with those primary colors and then play around, you get so many other colors. Here's a nice bright green. One of the things I really like about this activity is that watching the way the water behaves on the wax paper is an interesting thing to observe all by itself, aside from the colors you're making. Water doesn't normally behave like this on paper. Usually if you put water on paper, it just gets wet. But the wax paper resists the water. Okay, so I'm going to get ready to try one of my favorite experiments. I'm going to get a whole bunch of the water blobs all together, and then I'm going to try blowing them apart to see if the colors will separate again. So let's make a prediction here. Okay, so not surprisingly, when you blow the blobs apart into smaller blobs, the colors do not separate. But that's a really great question to ask your kids when you're doing this. Beside them, ask them to make a prediction. What do you think will happen when I blow the blobs apart? And of course, you can always go back and add a few more drops of water. Again, I don't like to add too many at a time. You've got plenty. So just a little bit so that you have plenty of room to explore and experiment. And not too much, because otherwise, again, it just sort of makes a big mess. But you can always go back and add a little more like I'm doing here. So kind of like psychedelic milk, this is one of those activities that I could really just spend a long time doing. I like watching the way the colors come together and swirl, and there, that was a good swirl, and seeing the kinds of different colors that you get, and observing the way that the water behaves on the wax paper. It's just really cool, and I would encourage you to do this along with your child. You can either set up your own tray or just get a second straw and you can explore together on the same tray. I like to challenge kids to blob races where we try and blow a single blob of water all the way across the tray. It's hard to control the water drops and get them to go where you want them to go, but there's really a lot of fun to be had with this simple activity. I hope you try it at home, and again, please keep checking back with us here on Facebook, on Instagram, on our YouTube channel, on all our social media, and we will keep on bringing you science and art and engineering and storytelling and all kinds of things to do while you are at home. So we hope everybody at home is doing really well, and we will see you next time. Thanks for joining me.